You did it again. Hannah blinks in confusion. What? Blacked out. Her grip tightens around the steering wheel. Frustration clear on her face. The coastal route hugs a large forest and weaves along the Australian coast. Let me drive, I say, pointing to a rest stop sign speeding by. Hannah rolls her eyes and sighs. Don't be so dramatic, Sarah. I blinked for like a second. My mouth drops open. Try a full minute, I timed you, and you were mumbling those silly words again. Hannah's face turns into a scrawl. My God, Sarah, just stop. Gosh dang it. I'm just saying, babe, you need to see someone. You're not right. Whatever happened back there? A bolt of lightning streaks across the sky, cutting me off. I hadn't seen the billowing mass of gray clouds rolling in from the sea. Rain starts to lash the car. Hannah puts the wipers on full speed, but the sheer volume makes it hard to see. They swish back and forth noisily. I sit back, the anger disappearing into anxiety. Where the heck did this come from? Hannah asks as she rubs off the film of condensation on the windscreen. Another bolt of purple and white lights the sky. It streaks out before us, illuminating the clouds. The tail end strikes something sitting inside the cloud. The aftermath spiderwebbing out like a ball of energy. Did you see? Hannah starts to mumble again, her eyes heavy and lidded. Lightning flashes. A strange symbol like 3 long slashes appears at once on her cheek. It fades slowly. Hannah doesn't respond as I reach out, my fingers inches from her face. The rain intensifies. The noise so loud, I place my hands over my ears. Hannah! I scream, but she doesn't hear me. Hannah! The road turns slightly left over a high cliff face. Hannah! I scream again, shaking her arm. Still, she doesn't respond. She mumbles louder. Lightning flashes. The symbol appears. I slap her hard across the face and her eyes snap open. But the damage is done. Hannah hits the brakes and we begin to skid. The barrier looms ahead. What the? Fuchsias, please. The lady gave me a smile, and mine crept up to match hers. She was distractingly pretty. Red hair and green eyes. I was betting that she was about my age. Do you want me to wrap them for someone special? She asked, biting the corner of her lip. I blushed slightly. No, I don't have anyone special. Just me. I stuttered to a stop. She glanced quizzically at me. I stuttered out again. I mean, just for me, the flowers. They are just for me, for my niece. It's her ballet recital. My face palmed my stupidity and she laughed. It was like a tinkling bell. It's okay, I understand. I'm Hannah. She offered her hand and I shook it. Sarah. Well, fuchsias are my favorite, so I know you have good taste. Perhaps if you let me take you out to dinner sometime, I could buy you some more to go with these. My eyes light up. I had hoped she was, but I didn't really know. I never did. I nodded eagerly. A wave of nausea hit me and I swayed where I stood. My head went light and suddenly, I was on the floor. Sarah, are you alright? I pulled the neck of my shirt away. My blood sugar was low. Heat billowed out. A tightness formed at the center of my chest. I breathed hard, the air not reaching my lungs. I'm fine, I said through the bated breaths. I just can't take a breath, I shout as the car hits. The world goes black and my consciousness stretches out. Suddenly, it retracts and sucks me back. I snap awake as cold water soaks my clothing. Hannah struggles against her seatbelt, water already halfway up to her chest. I see my fear mirrored in her eyes. I struggle for mine. It's tight, tighter than it should be. So tight that I can feel it cutting out the feelings to my legs. Waves break over the car, the noise pounding in my ears. The headlights are lost in the depths of the water. I struggle to free myself. We sink. Water inches up. It bubbles up over my lips and down my throat. We sink a little further. There's a pain in my legs. I try to move them, but it makes it worse. I cough out the water and gasp for air. The pain moves, spreads out. Salt water rushes in through my window. I can barely see the bonnet of the car anymore, just the gray slosh of waves. In my terror, I forget Hannah. She's submerged. Bubbles of air escape the corner of her lip as she peers at me, eyes blinking. "Hold on," I shout, my searching hand finding hers. But she just continues to look. No fear, no anger, just being. I try to pull my legs free, but I can't. The car sinks further. The last pocket of air holding us on the surface of the sea bubbles out. I hold my breath. We lock eyes. Just two people drowning together. My air depletes fast. Water rushes to take its place. I see Hannah's mouth move just as darkness creeps in. "Help." "Me find it," I said, nudging Hannah on the blanket beside me. She giggled and pulled me closer to her. We snuggled under the stars, a small campfire burning on embers beside our tent. "There," she said, aiming my hand towards a solitary star beside the Milky Way. "Altair is a poor shepherd, his lover Vega." She trailed my finger across the Milky Way to the other side. "Is a weaver girl. Their parents forbade the relationship and separated them from each other across a great river because the boy did not hurt his sheep and the girl did not weave her loom." "How sad," I said, feeling that pain. "I could never be away from you." Hannah smiled and kissed my forehead. "But," she said, looking me in the eyes, "their love was so pure that the gods intervened. Once a year, the two stars move closer together. The legend says that the boy and girl can only meet by crossing a bridge formed by magpies who had come to their aid." I sighed and we shared the moment together. It was the perfect anniversary. 2 years since we met when I bought flowers for my niece. "The fire is dying," Hannah said, pulling her hand from underneath me. "I'll go get some more wood. Stay here. The meteor should start soon." I nodded and laid back against the warmth of her indentation and looked upon the two star-crossed lovers. I let the story flow through me. It was so beautiful and sad all at the same time. I knew why Hannah was telling me this tale. Her parents didn't accept her for what she was. They would never accept us for what we were. But that didn't matter, because we had our own magpie bridge that bound us together forever. A cold breeze swept in and I pulled the blanket over my shoulders, shivering. It was dark now. The embers of the fire, more black against the smoldering undersides, gave little light. The sky seemed to expand with stars. I gasped as a single streak fell across the sky. "Hannah!" I shouted. "It's starting." I waited for a response, but nothing came. Gingerly I stood, blanket wrapped around my shoulders, and made off in the direction Hannah had taken. The woods were thick. Trees old and fat clustered together. It made me think about how people gravitated together for protection. Maybe the trees did the same. Ahead, a blue glow diffused the trees into a canvas of skeletal fingers and fractal light. I crept forward, not understanding what I was seeing. The cold clung to my shoulders as if it was scared and needed companionship. I shivered again and moved forward. The light intensified. I raised a hand to shield my eyes and saw a ball of light hovering over what I thought was a single broken tree stump. My heart screamed in my ears. The shiver vanished as if scared, and I would not have blamed it. My body was rigid with fear because I knew that the tree stump was not a tree at all, but Hannah. Hannah! I raced forward, suddenly free of my shackled fear. The ball of light instantly shot up into the air and vanished. Hannah's prone body slumped sideways onto the bracken before I could catch her. Hannah! I asked urgently, cradling her head into my lap. My fingers traced a crease along her cheek as it disappeared under my touch. Hannah's eyes cracked open. A tumble of words spilled from her mouth, gibberish I couldn't understand. A jagged line of light appeared on her cheek. What the heck? I touched it and snapped my hand away and stood up. It's cold, so cold that it burnt. The mumbling stopped and the streak of her skin slowly disappeared. Sarah? It's okay, I'm here, I said, crouching back by her side. What happened? I looked up into the canopy of branches to the sky above. Meteors streaked across the sky. I'm not sure, I said, biting my lip. But look. I pointed above and Hannah gasped. I sat down by her side. Worry clamped my throat. What had happened? Was it an alien? Or some other phenomena? For a while we just watched the stars and she turned to me, a serious expression on her face. What happened? I told her about the light and her falling over. Maybe it was a drone, she said, always the skeptic. And the light triggered some sort of epilepsy. She sat up, her green eyes shining in the darkness. I reached out a hand and caressed her face. I don't think it was, babe. It was weird. My knees were shaking and it wasn't from the cold. Had it been aliens? The more I thought about it, the more it freaked me out. Were the meteors really aliens? Hannah, I want to go home. Hannah turned her face to mine. Her eyes were heavy and tired, but she didn't argue. We got up to make our way back when it started to rain. Hannah, quick! I shouted, but she had stopped. Rain splattered on her upturned face. Hannah? She didn't move. Two jagged lines pulsed with light on her cheek. Hannah? I asked, hugging my shoulders. A drop of rain hit the underside of my nose and I wiped it off unconsciously. Another hit my face and I looked down at the ground. Droplets hung in the air, thousands of them. Millions of little drops of brilliant rain suspended in the air. I gasped and I turned to Hannah. She had spread her arms to the heavens. I ran towards her and dragged her by the arm. Hannah, come on! I screamed. The rain rose quicker and quicker until it rained as hard up as it would down. It started to fill my mouth as I screamed Hannah's name. I tugged at her sleeve, pulling her away. I started to choke on the water. It was burning my lungs. Frantically, I pulled and scraped at my body, blind panic making me as savage as an animal. Something moves. I float up, head hitting the roof. Air rushes into my lungs and I cough and heave. All at once, I remember where I am. I take a deep breath and I dive back into the gray water. Hannah's hands float out to meet me. I don't need to see the lifeless eyes to know that I am too late, but I still try. I pull the seatbelt, struggle against the seat and her clothing, trying to free the slightest bit to get her out. But I can't. My lungs burn again and I have to let her go. My face hits the roof. A tiny slither of air left for me to breathe. I gasp in the air, tears mixing with their salty brethren. I don't know how deep I am, but the light infusing the car should be happening. I take a last breath and I dive back down. The car is engulfed in light. I pull myself close to Hannah and caress her face one last time between my hands, and I kiss her. Air bubbles out of the corner of my mouth. The light intensifies until I can't see anything. I'm aware, slowly drawing breath, calm, no pain. My eyes drift lazily open, but all there is white. Something speaks to me. I don't know what it says, but I understand it. They want to know about Hannah, and I let them in. Let them see what she is to me. They ask me a question. I nod. Once. How could I not agree? My eyes close. Heavy, relieved. And I'm gone, sailing across a magpie bridge. A lady is there, red hair spilling across her shoulders. I know her deep in my soul. In her arms are a bunch of flowers. She hands them to me. I got you these. They're fuchsias, please. The lady gives me a smile and mine creeps up to match. I stop, suddenly aware. She was distractingly pretty. Red hair and green eyes. I know she was about my age. Do you want me to wrap them for someone special? She asked, biting the corner of her lip. I blush slightly. No thank you, I say, smiling. I'm Sarah, I say, offering my hand. She shakes it. Hannah, she says, wrapping them. She leans down and writes something in the corner. I reach across and stop her. Her hand is soft and strong, like I remember. These are for you, I say. Hannah looks at me quizzically. For me? I nod. I know fuchsias are your favorites. One day, you're going to make someone incredibly happy, and she will be the luckiest person on this planet. But that's not me, I say, letting go of her hand. But I wanted to buy these for you, I say, handing her some money and smiling again. She looks dumbfounded as I exit the store. But as I turn back, she's smelling the flowers and smiling. We share a brief glance before I turn and walk out of view. It was a price I gladly paid. Until another life, I say, looking up into the clouds into those who had given Hannah and I a second chance. But this one isn't it.